Good evening, everyone, and welcome to NCNW. I'm Kevin Johannes, your Director of Communications. We are starting off our new webinar series this evening with the Colgate family with Bright Smiles, Bright Futures. And we will now turn it over to our Executive Director of NCNW, Ms. Janice L. Mathis.
Thank you, Mr. Johannes, and welcome everyone. We're so sorry that we were late getting started. We had some technical difficulty. You know, computers are wonderful until they're not. So we appreciate your patience. And we think we've got a very informative session for you tonight, something that will benefit you and particularly the younger members of your family. I know some of you have children, and perhaps you're like me, you have grandchildren. What we want to do now is give Mr. Johannes an opportunity to talk about the technical aspects of using GoToWebinar, which is our platform for tonight, and then we'll come back with more details. Once again, welcome.
Yes, if you are on a laptop or a desktop, you will see a menu to the right, and we have a section called Q&A. You can put your questions in there, and we will answer them near the end of the hour, as well as if you are on a Surface or an iPad, there's a drop-down menu, and you can put your questions there. We are recording, so therefore, after we have the presentation, we will go ahead and add this to our NCNW YouTube page, so you may see again. And we ask that you follow our YouTube and all our social media on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, as well as Twitter.
Thank you, Mr. Johannes. Once again, welcome. I'm Janice Mathis, Executive Director of the National Council of Negro Women, and our president is the wonderful Dr. Thelma T. Daly, who is President and Chair of the Board of the National Council of Negro Women. You know, one of our board members is Donna Michelle Fields. She's been on the board of NCNW for a number of years, and she is an executive with the Colgate Palmolive Company. I want to extend special thanks and appreciation to her, not only for her support over the years financially, programmatically, she serves on a number of board committees, but also because of her dedication to community oral health. And that is why we are here tonight, because we're embarking on not a new venture, but perhaps a renewed venture in terms of bright smiles and bright futures. And we brought a wonderful speaker who is an expert in this area and can share with us, what do our children need to go back to school? I know my grandkids down in Atlanta went back to school with new sneakers and new backpacks and new shirts, and they were all color coordinated and dressed up with bows in their hair and looking splendid. But one of the most important things we can give our younger members of our family is good oral health, because those teeth are designed to last a lifetime if we take care of them. And we have a very special guest with us this evening to tell us more about Bright Smiles, Bright Futures, and how to give your children and grandchildren excellent oral health. She is Aneka Forbes Grant. She has a lot of initials behind her name. I'm not sure what they all stand for, but I know that she has an associate's degree in dental hygiene from the New York City College of Technology, and she went on to earn a master's degree in dental hygiene with a concentration in education. She has served as an assistant professor and practicing pediatric dental hygienist. Ms. Forbes Grant lives in Brooklyn, New York, and enjoys traveling, reading, dancing, and spending time with friends and family. She currently serves as Associate Manager for Community Oral Health, Bright Smiles, Bright Futures, North America, Colgate Palmolive. Welcome, Ms. Forbes Grant. How are you this evening?
Thank you so much for that introduction, and I am well. I am extremely excited to be here, and I cannot wait to impart some knowledge on everyone about the lovely care that it takes to get that smile nice and bright.
And to last a lifetime, correct?
Last a lifetime, absolutely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to do a little presentation. Let me just get it up on here. Beautiful. So welcome everyone, good evening. Again, we are here to talk about send them back to school with a smile. Easy steps to children's oral health. As I've been introduced, my name is Anika Forbes-Grant. I am a licensed dental hygienist and my current role is that of the Associate Manager for Community Oral Health for Colgate Bright Smiles, Bright Futures. Some of the things we're going to talk about are going to be just a brief discussion of the Colgate Bright Smiles, Bright Futures program. And we're going to get right into the overview of children's oral health, the importance of baby teeth, how to take care of your child's teeth, whether they be primary or permanent, brushing, flossing, some nutritional tips, when it's time to go for a dental checkup, and also how to keep your child's smile safe when it comes to sports and just normal play outside in the field. And then, of course, we'll have some time for questions and a little bit of feedback. To go through the Bright Smiles, Bright Futures program and our mission or some of our objectives, I would love to impart with you some knowledge on children's oral health. Going to guide you with some tools on how to achieve optimal oral health. And my main objective is to empower you, to empower your family on how to be communicative change agents for oral health. So we want to empower kids because the power of a smile, I lost my screen for a second. There we go. The power of a smile can change someone's life. If you've ever looked at someone and you gave them a smile, all of a sudden they start smiling too. So smiling is probably the smallest but hugest impact that you can do. And a smile is recognized around the world. So a smile encourages us to take positive action. And that's what we're that's the information that I want to leave you with today. Let's see. I'm having let me get this little guy out of the way. Sorry. It's blocking my screen. Okay, perfect. So a little bit about Colgate Bright Smiles, Bright Futures. It's a far-reaching, impactful oral health and well-being education initiative with the goal of increasing awareness and improving oral health and well-being of children and families around the world. We service 80 countries. We're translated in over 130 languages. And what we really do is we provide free oral health education, free screenings in some countries, tools and treatment referrals for children in underserved communities. Children's oral health dental decay is the most common chronic disease on the planet. According to the World Health Organization, 3.5 billion people suffer from tooth decay. In the United States alone, ethnic minorities and children from lower income families are most significantly affected. And 30% of school-aged children are affected by dental caries, and almost 50% of those are those who have Medicaid or government-run insurance. Untreated tooth decay and tooth pain can be very distracting for children while they're in school. It impairs their classroom learning. It increases systemic infections. So it's not just only happening in the mouth. These infections can travel and it can cause problems in your body, in our children's body, and it has adverse effects on well-being. If a child's mouth is hurting them, they're less inclined to eat nutritional foods. They're going to only want to drink. And as we know, we cannot solely get our nutrition from liquids alone. An estimated 51 million school hours are lost each year due to dental disease. And a lot of times it's because we just don't understand what's happening in the mouth and how we can prevent it. Dental decay is a preventable disease. So let's talk about baby teeth. what do baby teeth do? They help children form sounds and words. They save the space for adult teeth and help guide adult teeth into place. And it allows children to chew solid foods, which helps build what's known as the muscles of mastication. So it helps really build your cheeks, helps create your smile, because it gives you the strength that you need to do those things. And it also builds healthy, bright smiles children can feel confident about, right? This, as a pediatric hygienist, 15 years, I've seen too many children not want to smile and not want to laugh because they're embarrassed about how their teeth look. So these are things that baby teeth are important. Baby teeth, well-functioning baby teeth, it gives your child confidence. And that's what we want. We want confident children to go out into the world. Baby teeth, there's usually about 20 baby teeth at the age of 2. So there are 10 on top and 10 on bottom. As permanent teeth start to grow in, the roots of the baby teeth dissolve, and that's what causes the baby teeth to fall out. And that is when the tooth fairy, or in some countries, there's a tooth mouse, comes into our lives. You as adults, and as parents, guardians, grandparents, aunts, nieces, nephews, whoever we have here with us today, you are the ultimate oral health role models. If you are practicing good oral care habits, then the children in your life will also practice them too, because they see you doing them. There is a timeline for when teeth come in. So anytime between birth and 8 months, we start seeing the first set of baby teeth. And a lot of times, parents and caregivers are not, they're hesitant, or they don't understand that as soon as a teeth comes in, we have to start taking care of them. As a matter of fact, even before teeth develop and they start to break through into the mouth, we want to start wiping the gum pads, especially after feeding. This has a two-purpose fold. The first fold is it gets children or babies into the habit of knowing after they eat or after they drink or after they feed, something's going to happen to my mouth. There's going to be an adult that's going to come to my mouth and they're going to wipe those gum pads. That is how you start to develop habits. And then the second part is once the gum pads are wiped, when the teeth start to erupt, it causes less irritation when teeth break through the gum pads. It doesn't allow for bacteria to get into that area. So we definitely want to encourage our caregivers to start wiping those gum pads, particularly once in the morning and once at night. But if you can do it after some of your feedings during the day, that'll be amazing. Around the ages of 2 to 3, that's when we start to see all the beautiful baby teeth grow in, and we see that lovely smile that we love to see from our kids when they laugh. And we want to start having them take a little bit of autonomy when it comes to brushing, right? You want to start talking to them, guiding them, letting them know this is what we do. Do it with them in the bathroom. They can't fully do it as well as you can because of dexterity, but this is habitual. We want to start building good habits, and they start from young. Now, around the age of 6, they start to get what's known as the first permanent molars. Some of us in the dental world call them the 6-year-old molars. Now, those teeth develop in the very back behind all of those 20 baby teeth. So we don't start to lose anything yet. Those are the first set of adult teeth. And those are the teeth that we encourage gets the optimal brushing, because those are the teeth that starts the lifetime. Now, about 6 and older, you start to see, things start to get loose, especially in the front. Adult teeth start to come in, and this is when we want to encourage them to really start taking care of their teeth a little bit independently. We usually say a good baseline is if they can tie their shoes, they can be able to brush in the morning all by themselves. Nighttime brushing, we still want a little bit of supervision because we want to make sure they're getting all the corners, right? A lot of our young children will brush the teeth that they can see, and that's usually the front 8. So, early childhood caries. Caries are also known as cavities. This is something that is preventable, but something that we see quite often that has to do with nutrition and how often they're being fed sugary drinks. So breastfeed at regular feeding times. And after the feeding, like I mentioned before, you want to wipe the gums. And when the teeth start to come in, you want to start doing brushing. If bottle feeding is introduced, you want to remove the bottle as soon as it's finished. Never keep the bottle with them. And always have it as, we are here, we're going to feed, and then we're done. We don't want to travel around the house. We don't want to travel in the car. We don't want to travel in a stroller with that same bottle, because what tends to really cause an increase in cavities is the prolonged duration of sugar on the teeth. So if we're doing an uptake of that same bottle for 4 hours, the chances of developing a lesion, a cavitated lesion, or, the beginnings of a cavity is a lot greater than if we just sit, drink that bottle. Maybe it takes us 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then we're done with it. We wipe, we brush, we're good to go. We also never want to put our child, our baby, with a bottle of milk or juice. If they're in the soothing stages, water. We never want sugar sitting on that teeth. And like I mentioned before, this same thing applies with a sippy cup. We never want to travel with that sippy cup. We don't want to be in the park all day with that sippy cup. We drink what we need, we're done with it. Baby bottle tooth decay, which is known as early childhood caries, is a disease that's caused when that sugary liquid surrounds the teeth too often. So as I mentioned a couple seconds ago, we want to feed and be done with it. Continuous uptake of sugar on the teeth is what causes the enamel to break down, then slowly the dentin. And these are the parts of the teeth that we get into when we start to see a cavity form. Now, some good steps to oral care. And this applies to all of us, and not just our little ones. We want to brush twice a day. We always want to use a soft toothbrush, and we want to use a fluoridated toothpaste. Now, for children 3 and under, we want to have the size of a rice grain on the brush. 4 and over, we want to change that rice grain into the size of a pea. We also want to encourage spitting out the toothpaste. Now, one trick that I like to give, what I used to give my patients and their parents, is have your child rinse out with a cup of water. If you just have them brush your teeth and spit out, they don't develop enough foam. So like for us, we know how much to put on, and we develop foam, and we know to spit that out. For a child, they don't develop that much foam because we're not putting that much toothpaste on there. So we want to encourage using, taking a little sip of water. Oh, I'm not sure. Did I lose my slide? There we go. Let's go back. Take a little sip of water and spit the water out. It's easier to spit out water than it is to spit out toothpaste that they cannot feel. Another step is limit sugary snacks and drinks. We want to consume tons of fruits and vegetables, right? Water, milk, these are what we want to have as opposed to fruit juices, sodas. We want to be very careful how much of that we consume. Now, generally, if our kids are out in the playing field and they're having a great time, if we need to build those electrolytes, and they maybe have a sip of Gatorade, we want to try to have water right after it. And the reason being is when we're out in the field and we're playing and we're running around, our mouth gets dry, their mouth gets dry, and that the last thing they consume was something with sugar in it. That sits on their teeth until they go brush. And if it's a game and it's a halftime, we still have another half to go, and then a celebration, and then we get home. That's a long time. So we want to make sure we always have water. Visit your dentist regularly. A normal twice a year checkup is amazing. We want to take our child as soon as the first tooth erupts. So that can be anywhere from 6 months to 18 months. You see that first tooth, you schedule that appointment with a pediatric dentist. And if you don't have one, your dentist can always give you a referral. Flossing. Now, I know many adults themselves don't floss, but you practice good habits, your child will practice good habits. So as soon as teeth start to touch each other, that's when flossing comes into play. String floss is a little difficult, so we recommend that maybe you use the floss holders. Those are very easy for you to do on your child and for your child to do as they get a little bit older. And what's also very, very important, and the last step to good care, is change your toothbrush every 3 months. However, if you have a cough or a cold, or if your child has a cough or a cold, you want to change that brush as soon as the infection is over, because we don't want to continuously reinfect ourselves. Now, let's talk about how we brush. First, we got to get all the teeth on the outside. So there are surfaces to the teeth. We have the front surface, which you can see. We have the top surface, which is what you chew with. And then you have the inside surfaces, which is where your tongue lies. We have to make sure we brush all surfaces. We recommend we do the entire outside of the top first, and then go on ahead and do the inside of the top. Then get those chewing surfaces, and then repeat the same thing on the bottom. When you're brushing your child's teeth, we want to do little circles, right? And that helps them, encourage them to do little circles. And little circles are a dexterity move that every child can eventually accomplish. And after that, what's most important too is we got to brush our tongue. So make sure we brush our tongue. Kids usually get a little gaggy, so you just be very mindful. Don't have them stick out their tongue all the way, right? And don't stick it too far back, but just enough to get those little taste buds, which are known as a papilla, and that usually tends to trap a lot of bacteria. So we need to brush our tongue. Now, toothpaste. Fluoride toothpaste is the ADA standard. It is recommended by the American Academy of Pediatric Dentistry, and it is essential to cavity prevention. Fluoride is the known science in helping prevent cavities. So fluoridated toothpaste, which is something that can be purchased over the counter. Now, you always have to make sure you're reading the labels, because there are toothpaste out there that does not have fluoride. Any child over the age of 3, you go ahead and pea size. If they're 3 and under, you go ahead and use the size of a rice grain. And we always want to have parents or guardians around to help. We want to foster independence. So when they are old enough, you want to make sure that, they're doing it in the morning, but at nighttime, maybe take a little peek, maybe feel the toothbrush, see if it's wet. I have a nephew myself, and I kind of have to test his toothbrush every now and again to make sure that he brushes his teeth. So, just something to put that out there. If it's not wet, they did not brush. Now, fluoride toothpaste removes plaque and bacteria that can cause cavities. It also helps to strengthen and remineralize the teeth. That is why it is very, very important. It is, as I mentioned, one of the most effective and least expensive ways to help prevent tooth decay in not only children, but also adults. Now, depending on where we are, a lot of cities are fluoridated with the water. Fluoride tap water is beneficial to drink. However, that is beneficial for systemic uptake. So the teeth that we can see needs to be brushed with a fluoride toothpaste, and the teeth that are developing for our little ones, we need to have fluoridated water. If we have communities that do not have fluoride in the water, feel free to speak with your pediatrician and they can set you up or set your child up with fluoridated vitamins. Every 3 months or every 90 days, we want to go on ahead and change that toothbrush. We want to make sure that if the toothbrush gets, I've had stories of toothbrushes being thrown down the toilet. Any infection, anything where the toothbrush is just not looking anymore, feel free to just go ahead and chuck it, get a new one, all right? Buy a couple packs and just save them. I've had my niece and nephew, they play sword fight with their toothbrushes and they've ended up in places they should not be. So I always have some backups just in case. And again, like I mentioned earlier, if they're sick when the infection has subsided, you want to go ahead and change that toothbrush. Now, I have a video that I wanted to play. I'm not sure if it's something that I can play or if it's just audio.
You should be able to play it.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit play. Thank you. Beautiful. So that is a video, and if it needs to be shared, I can absolutely share it. It is available to you on YouTube. Just a quick little tutorial on how we should be brushing our child's teeth. Now, flossing. Flossing cleans the places where toothbrushes cannot reach. So we definitely want to make sure that we clean in between the teeth and around the gum line. And that helps prevent the plaque buildup and the tooth decay. We call those little sneaky cavities because they start in between the teeth. And it's only when they grow or get bigger and then you start to come around to the front or back surfaces that most people are like, oh no, I have a cavity. So prevention is key. Flossing is big preventer. As mentioned before, we want to make sure that you help up until they can tie their shoes, but dexterity with flossing is an issue for me sometimes. So little floss picks or floss sticks, floss holders are also beneficial and they work just the same. If you're using string floss or if you're using a floss holder, you want to make sure that when you slide it in between the child's teeth, that you kind of hug it. It turns into like a little C. You go ahead and you do up and down the tooth on one side, and then go ahead and do the same thing, hug it in a little C, up and down on the other side. Now, nutrition. Nutrition and oral care go hand in hand. We want to make sure that we're choosing healthy foods and understanding how to prevent plaque attacks, which can help your child's teeth stay safe, strong, and healthy. There are a lot of sneaky sugars that we want to be careful of. So raisins, granola bars, and sweetened cereals are some of those sneaky sugars that, we think are maybe healthy or may look good or is a quick, pack in the bag snacks. We want to be very careful with those and limit those as much as possible. Now, a plaque attack is a sticky film that forms on teeth. It is made of bacteria that live in the mouth when we eat or drink. Plaque mixes with sugar in foods and creates an acid, and that acid is what dissolves the enamel, which is the outer layer of the teeth. And this is how decay starts and where cavities begin. We want to limit these foods and sugars. We want to limit foods and drinks that have sugar. We want to help our young child make healthy food. We want to start empowering them to make the decisions when they're not around you, right? We want to make sure that when we send them off into the world, they have those habits. Here we go again with that word. They have those habits of knowing how to not only brush and floss well, but make smart, healthy decisions for not only their teeth, but also their body. If we're snacking throughout the day, that's usually another indicator that, a plaque attack is occurring. We never want to snack throughout the entire day. We want to eat our meal, we want to eat our snack and move on. We never want to continuously eat, because every time we introduce food into our mouth, a plaque attack is happening, and that changes the pH level. And when that pH level is pretty high in the acid area, that's breeding grounds for the bacteria to start having a party, and we do not want them to have a party. So some of the healthy choices, right? We have some apples, bananas, cucumbers, strawberries, tomatoes, and these can be eaten with dips and, almond butters and cashew butters if, peanut butter is not allowed in many schools. And water. Water is the best drink of choice. At mealtime, if they have, maybe orange juice for breakfast or milk for dinner, that's okay because it's with a meal. But we want to limit drinking any sugary beverage in between meals. We want to focus on water. Now, quickly, we're going to talk about some dental checkups, right? So a lot of kids are very nervous about going to the dentist. So some of the things that we want to let them know, of course, it's going to be a nice, fun visit. We're going to check, we're going to clean, we're going to polish and floss the teeth if it applies. If necessary, we do a fluoride treatment and do some sealants. Sealants is another preventive measure that we place on adult molars to help the cavity, to help bacteria not seep into the little tiny crevices that are on the chewing surfaces of the molar teeth. If necessary, we'll take some x-rays, and then we'll offer some guidance and answer questions on, proper brushing habits, how to get them motivated, how to get them engaged. A lot of times I am always telling parents or guardians or grandparents, let's make it happy and safe and fun for your child. Does your child like movies, video games, music? I've had plenty of parents. I tell them, pick a song. There's so many that we love. Have them brush to the song. They can brush and they can do their floss dance, which I've still yet to master myself, and make it an activity that they want to do. We want to make sure as soon as that first baby tooth comes in, that's when you start to schedule your appointment, and you should always go twice a year. Twice a year is how we can make sure we prevent things from starting, happening, or getting out of hand. Now, keeping smiles safe. We know that we have busy bodies. Those bodies of those little ones are so busy. They're always running up and down. They have so much energy. I wish I had some of their energy. Always make sure that we're holding on to handrails. When we are playing sports, we wear protective sports gear. Have them wear helmets, mouth guards if possible, and of course, knee, shoulder, elbow pads. We always want to have booster seats and put on your seat belts. I have seen my fair of trauma when it comes to accidents that have directly affected the mouths and noses of some of our children. And always make sure that we're on the playground. We do not walk in front of or through playground equipment. We want to make sure that we, walk behind it. We always want to make sure we're not standing on chairs or desks. We, be careful with pushing and shoving. Sorry, let me move this down a little bit. I apologize. We don't want to chew on ice or pencils or nutshells, because those can, cause micro abrasions on our teeth and then can crack them. And be careful when swimming or running around a swimming pool, right? No diving in shallow waters. If an injury should occur, stay calm as best as you can. You want to reassure the child and apply pressure if there's any bleeding. And as soon as you can get to a dental office, you go to a dental office. If it happens to be at odd hours, call 911 and get yourself to the emergency room. If a teeth has been luxated, meaning it's completely fallen out with root attached, these are injuries that can be, these are accidents that we can reimplant teeth in certain cases. So it's something that we want to definitely think about. Now, some of the things to keep smile safe. If there's a toothache, rinse with warm water. And if there's food trapped, maybe use floss to see if we can get that trapped. If it lasts longer than a day, visit a dental office. If teeth get knocked out, we want to try to put it in water or milk and get to the dental office right away. If we happen to bite our lip or our tongue, apply cold and pressure to the area. If it does not subside, visit a dentist. If a tooth is broken, clean the area, apply ice or compress, and try to keep as many pieces as possible because we might be able to go ahead and reattach. And if a permanent tooth gets knocked out, visit a dentist right away. A lot of times baby teeth do fall out naturally, but if there's instances where the baby tooth kind of gets stuck, right, visit your dentist for guidance on how to get that tooth out. One trick that I love to tell my patients when they have a baby tooth that's loose is instead of pulling or pushing, think of the top of a water bottle. The way you twist it, that's the best way to loosen a baby tooth and then to get it out without the child feeling as if they're, oh no, this is horrible. Start to loosen in that manner, the same way you loosen the top of a water bottle. Another fun and engaging activity is a brushing chart. Reward them for doing their morning and nighttime brushing. And a reward can be something as simple as maybe an extra dessert or maybe an extra 30 minutes of screen time. You can find something that works best for your family, but rewards are usually positive inspirations that'll help them and want them to brush their teeth. And it'll save us a lot of headache in the long run because we don't have to fight at 7:30 when it's bedtime. We have that brushing chart. Do you want your reward? Here you go. And some reminders that I'll leave you with is make sure we brush twice a day. We want to visit our dentist. We want to floss and we want to limit the sweet and stickies, those snacks that we know that are easy, readily and packable in a bag. We want to be mindful of having too many of those. Together, we can all be smile heroes for our children, right? We want to make that smile last for a lifetime. And how we do that is by taking care of our teeth, brushing, flossing, visiting our dentist regularly, and being very conscious of our nutritional intake. I appreciate so much all of you for your time. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And thank you.
Well, I want to thank you, Mr. Neka Forbes Grant. I never thought of oral hygiene or oral care as being entertaining. But you have a way of talking about it that is completely engaging. And I was thinking about some of you young people in my life. I wish they had been here to hear you because you're so animated and dynamic that you make it sound like fun and games. And I love the reward. I learned a lot tonight, and I'm sure the audience has too, but I'm also sure that they probably got questions. If you do have questions, you will see on your screen something that says chat, C-H-A-T, and an arrow. If you click on that, it'll take you to dialog box, and you can type in your question. I have a couple of questions to get us started, and then we will recognize, perhaps we can recognize audience members, or they'll put their questions in the chat. One was, what do you think about the automatic toothbrushes, the motorized, the what do we call them?
The powered electric toothbrushes?
Yeah, electric toothbrushes.
So they are definitely recommended, and we do recommend those to be used. We are always mindful of there may be some children that have some auditory or oral sensory issues where they might not be able to use it successfully. So if it is not a challenge to our young ones, we recommend using a powered toothbrush. However, two things with powered toothbrushes: we want to have supervision, and we never want to use it if the battery is dying or dull, or if it is not powered on. The bristles do not work the same, and they will not remove the plaque if those two things are true. If the battery is low or dying, and if it's not powered on.
And what age should a child be ready to start flossing themselves, either using the holder or using the actual string? About how old should they be before you attempt to allow them to floss on their own?
So usually across the board, 8 is a pretty good age, but another directive is when they can tie their shoes. That's also a really good, because dexterity-wise, their dexterity is getting better, and that would be a good baseline. We want to floss teeth that are touching next to each other. So we have some lovely children where they have beautiful spaced out teeth. And those are the areas where, we don't have to worry about flossing. But as soon as the teeth touch, we want to start flossing those.
Can you tell us a little bit more about Bright Smiles, Bright Futures? I know there's a van that goes around to communities. What's the purpose of it? And I think we've got some NCNW leaders on the webinar tonight who are interested in perhaps scheduling a van visit for their community. So could you tell us a little bit about Bright Smiles, Bright Futures and the van, the mobile van?
Absolutely, it'd be my pleasure. So we have a fleet of 8 mobile vans that travel across the United States. And what we do is we serve underserved communities. We go to community festivals, health fairs, conferences, but most importantly, we visit schools, Head Starts, community clubs, boys and girls clubs, and we provide oral health education, visual dental screenings, oral care kits for children who may not have access or continuous access to dental providers. Aboard the van, which even though we're calling it a van, it is the size of a Winnebago. So aboard the van, there are 2 dental chairs. And aboard the dental van, we have the children come on in. They're greeted by a dental professional, and that dental professional makes it fun and engaging for them to sit in the chair, and we do a visual screening. So we use a little overhead light. We may use a mirror. We have them open up, and right then and there, we can assess the oral health of that child, and if there are any cavities, and if they need to see someone urgently, if they're in need of orthodontic care like braces, or if they are doing an amazing job and they should just follow up with their dentist regularly. Now, with the van can be requested at any time throughout the entire country. We can, and I've created, along to help with Miss Mathis, and I'm sure that'll be shared with you guys, a van request form where you can fill it in and submit it back to us. And if you want our van to come and visit, maybe you are in cahoots with the principal of a school and she wants her kids' smiles to be amazing so it does not interrupt their daily lesson. Those are kind of the things that we work with, and we would be happy to help you. And on the flip side of things, we also love to have volunteers. So we love to have volunteers, adult volunteers, come on board the van and help us with the education, help us guide the children, interact with the children, keep them engaged with our activities, because we see anywhere from 100 to 200 children in a single visit. And sometimes, there's more of them than there are of us. So we need some help with, keeping them motivated and engaged. So we always look for volunteers to come aboard and help us on the van as well.
Well, some of our members have a good bit of experience with the mobile van, and they are already calling us. One of the reasons we wanted to do this and take a little bit deeper engagement, there's nothing sadder than a little one with a toothache especially they seem to come in the middle of the night and they interrupt school, they disrupt the family routine, and you just feel terrible if your child has a toothache. So we said, what can we do? So what we've committed to do at NCNW is to create what we call a resource bank. If you go to Bright Smiles, Bright Futures, Google Bright Smiles, Bright Futures on your web browser, and it will take you to the site. And there are all kinds of tips and tools and strategies and information there. And we're going to link that up to our ncnw.org website just to make it a little bit easier so that you have all those resources at your fingertips. I don't see, Ms. Whitley, do we have any questions from the audience?
Yes, we do. Wonderful presentation, Ms. Grant. I am inspired by your passion for oral hygiene, and I am going to thoroughly brush my teeth tonight. I can tell you that.
Love to hear that. So that's what we want to hear.
And I'm also glad to hear that electric toothbrushes are good. So our first question comes from, looks like Ms. Vicki Stanley. She wants to know, will this information be shared with us to be printed and shared with others at events?
We hadn't thought about printing. We were thinking more about digital. But if that's something, I know Ms. Stanley, she's a very active NCNW leader in Maryland. And I know that she will make sure that that material gets out. I don't see why we couldn't print with Colgate's permission some of the material for distribution. Would that be okay, Ms. Anika Forbes?
Yes, that would be absolutely fine. You guys have a copy of this. Please feel free to reshare as you need.
And if you notice, if you've been visiting ncnw.org or our Facebook page for the past month or so, every week we post a new, it's usually a cartoon or it's something that gives you a tip or a trick or a strategy that you can use. And we pledge to do that at least weekly for the next year. So pay attention to the social media too. I guess I need to put it on Instagram. Facebook is kind of old hat, isn't it? Maybe we'll put it on. I have a 9-year-old. Maybe we'll get him to be our TikTok ambassador because that seems to be what he's enjoying right now. Do we have another question?
Yes, we do. This question is from Miss Devera Hurd, and it reads, can tooth whiteners damage youth or adult teeth? At what age can they be used, if that's okay?
That's a great question, and that's a question that we do get a lot in our pediatric office when I used to work in my pediatric office. So we do not recommend the use of, whether it be over-the-counter or professional whitening products for adolescents until after they have developed all of their adult teeth. So to give you an age, usually between the ages of 16 to 18, we can start talking about whitening. We don't want to do it in the younger population because the teeth are still developing. And to get a little sciencey, a little technical, the pulp of the teeth can't handle, the baby teeth can't handle that. So we want to make sure that we are fully developed, and usually about 16 to 18, they're good to go if they need to whiten up that beautiful smile.
That was a great question from Devera Hurd. And looks like we've got one more. Well, it's more of a comment. This is from S. Chanel Woods. It says, great presentation. The Caries section have partnered with the Illinois Colgate crew to bring them to Indiana. Oh, that's awesome.
Amazing. Love it. Love it. Yes, I know that we have worked with you all in the past in different chapters, and we are excited and we're looking forward to working with you all again in the near future and the future to come.
Do we have any more questions from the audience? We've got a few more minutes before we have to adjourn. I do want to say to our NCNW members, we know that some of you are familiar with this project and this program and this outreach. Many of you, especially in New York, know Donna Michelle Fields and the dedication that she has for this mission. I'm expecting and I'm hoping and I'm urging and I'm yearning for you to be ambassadors for Bright Smiles, Bright Futures. Those of you who are familiar with it, you know, we've got 330 chapters around the country now, sections. And so Dr. Daly and I can't get to all of them. The board can't get to all of them. But you talk to your NCNW sisters and people in the community. Let people know that this service is available. Do you know what a pediatric dental checkup would cost if you had to pay for it out of pocket? We're talking about, what, $75 to $150 for just a checkup, maybe? I don't know what it costs, but it's not free. And this is something that we're providing as a service. And think about all the suffering that it will prevent if we get to the point that we're preventing as opposed to treating cavities. Especially when you think about the infection and how it can affect other systems in your body. And you just don't want to do that if we don't have to do it. And maybe our grandparents, my father used to tell a tale that he chewed sugar cane. He never had a cavity when he was 80 years old, had all his teeth. And he swore it was because he chewed sugar cane as a child. I don't believe that. That was just something he was telling us. But most of us are not as fortunate as that. And so we do need to take care of our teeth because repairing them is a whole lot more trouble and expense and pain than keeping them in good shape to begin with. Do we have any other questions or comments before we go?
We do have a thank you with a smiley face from Ms. Marjan Pierre. And it looks like Ms. Josephine Wadley wants to know, is there a van at the local DC metro area? And how long is the typical wait time? And also the poll, it looks like the poll is up. If you want me to run that really quickly, Ms. Mathis.
Yes, if you would, that would be wonderful. Okay. I think we've answered the poll questions, but let's put them up anyway. It'd be nice to get the data.
So to answer the question, yes, we do have a van that services the DC area. It is the Mid-Atlantic van, and they cover the DMV. So yes, they cover the DC area. And depending on, so normally we would recommend, or we ask that you provide us with 3 dates that that you're thinking about to have us work with you. And usually within that 3 dates, we can usually always find a date that works or something very close to it. There really isn't so much of something called a wait time, but our vans are out on the road 4 to 5 times a week. So we love working with our partners, and we consider you guys a premier partner. So we will always make it work for you if there's a time crunch on your end. But normally, if you give us about a 3-day choice, we can absolutely fit you in.
And along with that, how much lead time do you need? Do you need a week, 2 weeks, 3? What's a good time for you to request in?
Yes. So a good lead time for requests, whether it be 1 to 3 days, visit, depending, we would definitely recommend a minimum of 3 to 4 weeks. And the reason being is that if there's any permits that have to be acquired, any certificates of insurance, and also parental consent forms from guardians or parents that are having their kids screened, we need to make sure we have those ahead of time. It's usually easier to get them before, and that's usually what takes the longest, is getting the parental consent forms back. So 3 to 4 weeks is pretty perfect for a lead time.
All right. Are there any more questions or comments? We've got a great resource here. This young woman is a fountain of knowledge about pediatric oral care. I would
say before you go, you might want to look in the handouts. We've actually turned the PowerPoint into a PDF so you can download it this evening.
Oh, wonderful. Download it now?
Anybody watching can download it now as a PDF.
You click on that you see that red Adobe sign next to that. You click on that.
Yes.
And that will down. I didn't know we could do that. Thank you, Mr. John.
Doing it for all 4 years.
Okay.
You're usually busy talking when I'm handling that part. That's why.
Well, I do like to talk.
Well,
I confess. Well, I want to thank everyone. Miss Anika Forbes Grant, you are just simply amazing. This is our first time working together, but I promise you it will not be the last time. We're going to do these Bright Smiles, Bright Futures events all over the United States, including at our 60th National Convention on December the 1st through the 4th. We're going to make sure that that van is set up outside the Washington Hilton, and people can come and bring their children there to get screened.
I love that.
I want to thank you for, I know there are a lot of things you could do with your time. To our audience, thank you for your faithfulness to this mission, to your willingness to be involved and engaged. We've got a new member with us tonight, Miss Whitney Guilford. Is that correct?
Yes, Whitney Guilford. Yes, ma'am.
Whitney, she's just as smart as she can be. This is her first or second week with us, and we're so delighted to have her on board, and we need her so much. We're just delighted to have you here, and we welcome you to the NCNW family. It is like a big family. You'll see that it's just like having a bunch of new cousins and aunties. You're going to enjoy working with us. So with that, Mr. Johannes, thank you for always being there. I appreciate you, and I appreciate our audience. And I want to say, be on the lookout for Bright Smiles, Bright Futures. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter. All of our sections have social media. My dream, my aspiration is that one day we'll have all of the local and statewide NCNW social media connected to each other. And the way we do that is by following each other. We'll really see how powerful we can be because we're better together. Thank you all, and good night.